Welcome to Loco Gringo, Mexico, where we can take you beyond the usual on your vacation. Each week we talk with amazing locals who know the Riviera Maya and Yucatan like only locals can. Get real tips to real places, insights on the local scene, culture, and cuisine from a local's perspective. So pour yourself a margarita, mezcal, or tequila, grab yourself a comfy chair, and let's get the show going.
The holiday season is a time for good cheer and friendship. As 2017 nears an end, here's a favorite podcast from this past year.
This episode is brought to you by Buy Playa. You know, lots of people ask us for information and help when it comes to real estate, whether they're looking for retirement, an investment property, or maybe they're looking to relocate to the area. And we refer them over to our friends at Buy Playa. The folks at Buy Playa we've known for years, and they'll make sure that you, the buyer, are fully protected and informed when it comes to buying real estate. So if you're looking to buy a piece of paradise, check out our friends at buyplaya.com. Hola, everybody. This is Loco Gringo, Mexico, and I'm your host, Kay Walton. Well, today we're going to be talking to a travel blogger who has a mindset for travel, a mindset for life, and his heart is here in Mexico. So we're going to be talking today with Craig Zabransky. He runs a travel blogging website, StayAdventurous.com. He's also a contributor to allaboutmexico.com, an accomplished photographer, as well as an ambassador for Mexico Today. So without further ado, let's get into a nice little conversation here with Craig. Hey everybody, good afternoon. This is Kay with Loco Gringo, and I have Craig Zabransky here. I've been a little tongue-tied, so y'all, I have to apologize for that. Hey Craig, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Kay. Thanks for having me on the show.
Hey, no, it's my pleasure. Now, Craig, I know we met several years back. I think we're at the beach. I think we might have been at Hacienda Tres Rios back in the day.
Yes, of course.
Wasn't? And one thing I think that why we've become such good buddies is because we have a passion for travel and we have a passion for Mexico. And that is why I'm just thrilled to have you on the show so you can talk about your journeys as a traveler, but what brought you to the Riviera Maya, to write about it for your blog, and what and about your passions for Mexico. So if you could let our listeners know a little bit about your background and your journeys here to Mexico, that would be great.
Sure. I'm a Wall Street consultant, basically, a global management consultant for one of those big firms. Basically gone rogue, I guess. It was at 0405 where I took a year off, like a sabbatical. And it's so funny, when I think back to those travel days when I wanted to like backpack around the world type of thing, it seems very common today, but there was no Facebook and Twitter. It was just a different era almost. But that led me to believe, or when I was sitting in certain places, that the world is such a magical place and I wanted to explore more. And it was amazing because at that point I skipped Mexico because I actually thought I knew it. Oh, I went there when I was a kid. Oh, Mexico. I know that I'm not going to go to that country. I'll go to other countries and see the rest of the world. Boy, was I in for a surprise once I really started to discover Mexico. And actually what brought me back was consulting. I got a project in Mexico City. So with the Stay Adventurous mantra in my mind at that time, didn't have the site yet. I decided, it was 10 years ago, I took a gig in Mexico City. And my passion for Mexico grew from there. What a city. It's one of the world's best, in my opinion. And I've seen a lot of them for not just for weekends, but for multiple times. So I've been in a lot of these cities for like months. And I could relate to you. The Mexico City is a must if you're a city person. Absolute must. And then from there, I started, instead of flying home back to the States, I started exploring more and more of the country. And I just basically fell completely in love with it. And what I discovered is the real danger of Mexico at that time was falling in love with it, because I did, and it has never left me. And Cancun, the Riviera Maya, where we've met, Kay, was when I first started my blog, and I got the invite to come to Hacienda Tres Rios. And boy, that just kicked off a love for that region in a new way, much different from my spring break days, for sure.
I bet it's a lot different from spring break days. I think, people have this misconception that that's what, Mexico is all about, is spring break, like up in Cancun during those peak weeks. But there's really a whole lot more to the Mexico area than just
so much more. And Hacienda Tres Rios was like a great entry point. There was a time when I was asked to pick one of my favorite destinations in the world, and they found me and they wanted, like this they did a video. And I have it on my site. It's on YouTube. It's it's from 2010, but I talk about our trip to Hacienda Tres Rios because I stayed afterwards for like 10 days exploring the whole region, Playa del Carmen, some of the ruins, swimming in some of the cenotes, and really got a taste of what you could do in the Riviera Maya. And that's why I frequently go back, because I love the place. There's just so much to do there. You're lucky to call it home.
No, that absolutely, and you always have a friend, and you have lots of friends down here now. And I know we also had, and I had almost forgotten one of the last times you were down here. You even stayed in Soliman Bay, which is near Tulum.
Yes, when you were talking about, you gave me some of the questions, some of the secret spots. I mean, that place. Casa de Corazon, what a gem that was. I mean, you said it was, and I trusted you. And wow, that was some of my 4 great days there in that spot. What a great little spot. Right by Tulum, exactly. But it's like a little oasis, and you kind of have your own little place there. Definitely worth a visit, Solomon Bay, which I realized I was pronouncing wrong when I was listening to one of your podcasts. I was calling it Solomon Bay.
You know what? There's people that pronounce it both ways.
There are people that go both ways in the beach towns, for sure.
Oh, we can have we'll put this show on after 9:00 at night then, and air it. Now, Soliman Bay is wonderful, and you know what was really a thrill for me is when you said you wanted to come down, and is to turn you on to Soliman Bay, which is one of my favorite places, and Casa Corazon, of course, is one of the places that I love to run away to when I get a little time away from the office. But through your travels in that, what have you found in the Yucatan area and even Cancun, the Riviera Maya, that are some of the things that people should indulge in while they're here? Because we've got environment and culture and food, and we have so many wonderful things. It's really hard. I think people get overwhelmed going, oh my God, but what do I do today?
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it is like when you said environment, culture, food, I was like, yes, 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 just yes, to all of those things. And I think actually it was the owner of Lake Solomon Bay. When I was talking to him on one of the hammocks there, we were chatting with coffee in the morning, and he was like, what do you recommend and stuff? And he's like, you have to see ruins and you have to swim in a cenote. And I was like, those are 2 musts. And I really think if I was going to recommend for people to do, you have to check those things out. I mean, there's so many great ruin sites. Of course, there are the famous ones. There's Chichen Itza and Tulum, which I think most visitors probably go to. I think Coba is gaining popularity, which would be my recommendation of what I like to call those big 3 ruins. But I know there are even other sites that I still want to explore in the region. But Coba is great because you get to climb the pyramid. You could ride a bike through it. It's very still covered in jungle. It really gives you that sense of discovery. I'm a big fan of my trip to the Coba ruins. For sure, I'd recommend that. And there was a cenote close by that I'll never forget. I mean, this spiral staircase built underground. You get into this huge, it just opens up into this vast room. And there was with a little like pier, a dock, and you just run and jump off. And I'm like, there was no one in there. It was Molten Hot was the name of the place. And I wrote my biggest mistake was like, because you're wet, it was raining. I don't have a great photograph from it. Like I didn't have my equipment, or I didn't bring it down because it was just bathing suits. So I took a small little one, and I have that on my website, but it really doesn't do the justice of how I felt. I mean, it was an amazing cenote. But there are thousands of them, or hundreds of them, I guess. So I think there are thousands, right? 6,000 or something cenotes. I don't know how many are open to the public, but that's a definite must do. And that one really, I was like, wow, definitely.
Now, when you went to Coba, did you get an opportunity to go over to the colonial city of Valladolid?
Yes, I did. I mean, I think I did that when I was doing the Chichen Itza tour. We stopped in Valladolid, and I did get a chance to do that. And that's another thing I would recommend is that's a great colonial city. You really get that essence. But when you get and leave, I think people are like, oh, the Yucatan Peninsula, but it's made up of those 3 states, right? Campeche, which I'd love to go to and hope to get there one day. There's the Yucatan state of, which is where I've spent some time. And then there's Quintana Roo, which is the coast, right? And that's Cancun and the Riviera Maya, so to speak, with all the beaches. But the state of Yucatan, I want to explore more too. And I only got a chance to visit, a couple of these haciendas. I'm like, these things are gorgeous. And it's just kind of like a totally different vacation. Going to the city of Merida too. Like it's so different from a Cancun or a beach holiday, but it's colonial era. and it's just a wonderful place to go. It's a great place to visit. I know I did a podcast on the Yucatan too from my experience there, and I just thirst for more activities like that. So I know there's just so much to do on a trip there. I could see why people go back and back again.
And we find that a lot with our guests, and I'm sure you've heard from other people you've talked to, is that they keep returning back to the area, and they may make their home base be the beach, but then they venture off for day trips, whether it's going to Chichen Itza or Valladolid. And more, we're getting people requesting places like Merida, Rio Lagartos, which is up.
Right.
It's another biosphere up the top of the Yucatan Peninsula. But there's more people who are coming back, and they just have a hunger for more because they've gotten that taste of the environment and the culture and the people, and they really want to keep that level of exploration and discovery happening for them.
Yeah, Rio Lagartos, where all the flamingos. I mean, you see the images, but when you get a chance to go up there, and I went right by Celestune, which I think is a park there too. And I mean, just seeing them all in the natural environment was amazing. And you get a chance to do that. It's wonderful. And I think what's great about Cancun and flying in and out of there is there's so much accessibility to the airport and from all over, so many flights coming in. But each time you go to that region, your trip could be a little different. And I really believe this region's a great entry point, I would say, for discovering more of Mexico or understanding Mexico. It offers so many things that you could do, the culture aspects, the environmental aspects, or just hang out at the beach, or do them all in one trip, right? I mean, I think that's the thing. But you get an entry, and it's kind of like, I don't want to call it a safer place, because I really believe Mexico is relatively safe, but I think it's a safer pick as a destination. And then they're like, wow, I really like this Mexico. And then people might explore other areas beyond going deep into the Yucatan. And then, of course, where I fell in love with all of Mexico. I mean, there's just so much to see and do in that country. It's so diverse. It basically has everything that you'd want to do. And it's so amazing, because I was like, oh, I know Mexico. I'll skip it when I did my around the world type trip so many years ago. But I discovered I didn't know anything.
Well, as you point out, with Cancun being maybe more user-friendly, especially for people who don't speak English, is that they can come and experience Mexico and see that you don't have to be fluent in Spanish,
right,
to get around. And you get comfortable and everything, so that it makes, then when you venture off the beaten path a bit, go to Merida, go to Mexico City, that you can get around and maybe not feel so intimidated as if you took Mexico City to be your first trip. That might be a little intimidating.
Yeah, well, any major city, I think, will be intimidating. Mexico City, for sure. It's 20 million plus estimated, I guess, right? I mean, there's no real official number, and it just depends on where you put the line. I mean, it's so big, it's a state now. That's always strange for me. But yeah, I think it's great. Like when I try to use my Spanish, like people are surprised in the Riviera Maya and Cancun area. And they're like, oh, you speak a little Spanish? They're pleasantly surprised. You get that little extra smile from someone who might be in the hospitality from you, because you're communicating with them in their language, which I think is the way it should. I don't want to say should be, but it's the way, it's helpful for you, and they just appreciate it. It's a much more appreciative aspect of the hospitality, is talking in Spanish. I think it's great. But they're surprised. Like English first, even, like in Playa del Carmen, everything's in English. Cancun, I mentioned the hotel, everything's in English. It's incredible.
Exactly. No, and but I also think that because there's with the amount of English there, and now that, a lot of people who are growing up in the Riviera Maya and Cancun area, English is their second language. They learn it in school. Mm-hmm. Is that it helps make the experience even more welcoming to people, knowing that they can get some help if they need it in English. And communication is just huge, no matter where you're going in the world, and to interact with a culture. And I would say it's probably one of the more user-friendly areas that you can go to. I've been down into some of the other Latin American countries, and my lack of Spanish, I still was able to get around, but there wasn't the English. I didn't have that English to fall back on because they weren't aware of it. So I think that's one of the nice things that we hear from a lot of our visitors that come to the area, is that they can have a conversation with people even at a rudimentary level, and it helps build that bond between the two cultures, that they can, even if it's just talk about the weather, right. But it helps they can have a little more intimate experience with the locals because everybody knows a few words of English. And also, if you're in Playa del Carmen, though, you can also hear French and Italian and German. So quite a multicultural area.
Certainly Italian. That place, I remember my first impression was more pizza places than taco shops. I mean, I'll never forget that. I'm like, it's pizza everywhere. I'm like, where are the tacos? You know, like you had to go find them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's a Little Italy section, at least locally, you know, we'll call it, there's the north part of Fifth Avenue in Playa del Carmen is that we go, oh, we're going up to Little Italy.
Nice.
And yes, and we to eat pizza generally. You know, Craig, let me ask you I'm sure it's very hard because you can tell in your voice and everything about your love for the country. I know you love the beaches and area of the Riviera Maya and Cancun, but does your heart call out to you? Does your heart still go out to Mexico City, or are there some other destinations that you really have a special place for that you want to go back to, or you haven't quite touched yet, and you want to make a trip out there?
Oh, there's plenty I want to touch still in Mexico, and I really think, but it's the diversity. It depends on what type of trip that you're really looking for. As mentioned, we talked about the English, and it's a great entry point. There's so much to do. I think the Riviera Maya is always a great choice. Now that I'm even closer to it, I feel like a flight to Cancun is it's not as far from New York as it is from the Florida Keys. So it's like, wow, I should go there more often. It's right here. But it's just a great destination. And so it's clearly one of my favorites. I wish it had surf. I know I was talking to someone, I forget who at the time, was like on Twitter all the time with the Mex chats and everything. And we were talking, and I was like, oh man, it's like Cancun. I wish it had surf in the area of the Riviera Maya. And he promised me that there was waves. And I think that if there was a great surf break, that would be great. That's what the West Coast really has. That's why I like occasionally going to the West Coast of Mexico. You could go to Mazatlan or fly into Puerto Vallarta, head up to, into Nayarit area. The town of San Blas is a blast. It's just a unique little spot. And there's a great surf there. Oaxaca has great surf too. So, there's aspects of that. And of course, Mexico City. When you said my heart calling out, that's the heartbeat of the nation. It's a great place to go. If you like cities, if you like city travel, like a lot of people go to Mexico because they want to go to the beach. And that's great. It has tremendous coastlines on both sides. If they want culture, if they want history, if they want that city experience, like Mexico City, wow. I even run a tour there. Once a year, I take people to Mexico City. I call it Stay AdvenTours. It's a long weekend. I try to get people to understand the city. Even the New York Times last year picked it as the top destination. They pick 52 destinations every year. They picked Mexico City was like their number one choice, awesome. Which is New York Times. I think Mexico itself had 3. In the Riviera Maya, they picked Holbox, which I don't know how to pronounce. And that's definitely a destination that seems to be peaking as kind of like that remote little area that's just pristine. And I'm like, I see photographs and I'm like, yeah, I want to go there. Who doesn't? That's clearly a beach, total looks like a rest and relaxation paradise. But I don't know. I've never been, but I'd love to go. And then there's all these magic towns that they do, the Pueblos Mágicos, where there's such unique culture in the middle of, the aspect. I could talk forever. I would recommend the biggest nature aspects too, these huge migrations. You could go see whales. I think you could see them all over the world. But the one thing the migration that captured me the most is when I was in Mexico City was to see the monarch butterflies. Oh my God.
I've never seen that. It was cool, huh?
It was amazing. It was probably the biggest natural, like when I think of all the things that I've had been blessed with the opportunity to see, the northern lights, the whales in the water, like all these wonderful destinations, like to go there and have the opportunity to see that and those butterflies in the tree and hear them and just see the entire forest like orange coated and then see them flying around it was unreal. It was just such a magical moment, and I did it way before blogging, way before I had cameras. I just hiked up there and saw it. And I guess maybe it was 10 years ago. So every year I'm always like, oh God, they can't log that area. Like people have to go there. And they had the movie that came out. It's just Mexico is blessed with so much. And when you really start to uncover it, you realize how much more there is to see. And you spend a lifetime in that country alone, no doubt.
I totally agree. from the Twitter event that you host, Mex Chat, and that's on Mondays. That's once every month. What, the third Monday of the month?
The second Monday of the month.
Second Monday.
We usually do 1 p.m. Eastern time. I know there are times when we don't agree on when to switch to clocks and stuff like that between the U.S. and Mexico. So there's always conversation about it. But if you look up the hashtag Mex Chat, and this, we're always talking about a new topic every month, and it's fun. It's definitely great. It piques interest in different regions. And I wish more of the different areas would hop on it, from all over. Riviera Maya is well represented, and with good reason. I mean, there's great things to do there, there's no doubt. And that's why, I know that I'd like to, at least I wish I could just say every year I'm going to Riviera Maya for a little bit, and it's this year I don't think I made it there, which is amazing to me. Because my last trip, I think, was last November. I was just looking at, it was for a Mex Chat, but I was coming in from something too. I did my trip to Mexico City, and then I went into Riviera Maya.
That's right. I was at that Mex Chat. It was at one of the hotels in Playa.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Well, what I was with Mex Chat, the one thing, and we get on this hour-long chat back and forth on Twitter and talk about all great things about Mexico, and there's some targeted questions. But the one thing invariably that comes up, no matter what the topic, is food.
Oh, of course.
Of course. So with that, I'm going to ask, do you have some recommendations since you've been through the country and you've been to the Yucatan area? What are some of your favorite dishes and that you would encourage people to try when they're here?
Well, I can't go to Mexico without having a tacos al pastor. Like, I just can't. It's a must-have, and that's what I was looking for when I found pizza shop after pizza shop when I was walking La Quinta, and then people put me in the right direction. But, that's just a must-have. It's those tacos, and tacos, I think, it really changes the way that you think and believe tacos, at least from my upbringing, of what I thought a taco was to what it really could be, And I think pastor is something that I always have to have. I think when you're in the Yucatan, I'm not going to pronounce this right, but it was it's the pibil, like that pork and how they mix that. It's just magic. It's delicious. People say, I know someone, I remember meeting a girl there for a while. We were chatting on, she was working within the tourism industry, and she said when she moved there, she gained 10 pounds because just of that dish alone, she had to have it all the time from Mexico City. And I was just like, wow, I can see that.
For our listeners, pibil is cochinita pibil, and it's a lot of times it's made on Sundays, but it's equivalent to like a pulled pork with achiote and onions and everything, and it's absolutely delicious. It's delicious in tacos. However, it may not be the most heart-healthy meal, but it's certainly delicious.
It's definitely one thing you have to try once there. And I avoided saying cochinita because I knew I wasn't going to say that word right. That's just pibil. That's all usually I know it as. And I'm like, I see it. I'm like, on the menu, it's great. I think if I was in the Yucatan, I would look for seafood too, because you're right on the coast. There's usually a lot of great creations there. I don't know any dishes like come speak to mind, but I would always order something, fresh from the area that you're in. And I know the restaurants are always changing, or they seem every time I go to Playa del Carmen, all the different restaurants seem to be there's a new one, there's a new thing or something. So it seems like there's like a vibrant restaurant scene in that area. And what was interesting is a lot of times people go to these regions is like it's all inclusives, right? Many of the resorts are all inclusive. And one of the things I mentioned actually in the one podcast I did about Playa del Carmen is my cousin goes to Mexico a lot. And we talk, and he was mentioning how beautiful the resort was. Yeah, and it was. I'm sure it was. But the story he told me the most is when he hopped outside the walls and spent an entire day in Playa del Carmen. And he walked around and he explained what was going on and how much he liked it and tried this kind of food. And, and that's just, I think what's great about that town itself is just like there's the avenues and the opportunities to do stuff like that and to eat different things. And to try different restaurants and escape the aspect of the all-inclusive resort, which has its place. It's very enjoyable from time. But, if you could combine that with something else, the Riviera Maya, as Kay, offers so much to all types of travelers.
Absolutely. And I think that it really enhances a trip to be able to get out and walk around and, have tacos. Now we have microbrews. So, beer lovers, you can, instead of getting whatever's they're pouring off tap at a resort, you can go and try some of the local microbrews and everything. And it's just, it can only enhance an experience. And it's better to go and see what's there than to, sit by the pool. And I have sat by the pool and it's all well and good, but I'd love getting out.
Oh, I would love sitting by the pool. I mean, some days. I mean, you love the beach days and the pool days. Yeah, I mean, they're great, especially when they're right in your backyard. It's like you could go on vacation just by driving, and you stop. You don't have to like get out of the plane. It's great to live in a place like that, I'm sure. Okay, I mean, Florida Keys is like that too. I feel like I could go out and get on vacation and spend some time on the water like a tourist. But it's also great to explore the other areas, and I think that's the joy. That region has so much of both. It's a great opportunity for travelers, tourists, to really explore different aspects of what they want a vacation to be.
And I don't know if you know this, and it may have come up in a Mex chat, but now there's a planetarium in Playa del Carmen, and
I did not know.
Yeah, the planetarium. There are some new museums that have been opening up, both in Cancun and Playa del Carmen. Cirque du Soleil, which I'm going to put Cirque in as part of the arts, and I will tell people I went to saw Cirque in the Riviera Maya here. And I like the production better than I did in Vegas. But I mean, and there's other productions. There's more music and everything happening, and it's really great.
Coco is a production that I was impressed with. You think you're going to like a club, but that's a real performance.
I've never been.
Oh, that's a real performance. I mean, the real performers. I mean, they close the stage. They come. I remember there was a Broadway show that couldn't figure out how to get people to fly across the stage. I don't recall. I think it was U2 was doing it. Maybe it was Batman or something was happening in Broadway, and they couldn't get it down. But I remember going to Mexico, and they were flying all over the place. Spider-Man. I think it was Spider-Man, actually. That's what it was. Spider-Man was coming down from the ceiling. They do songs from different eras. The dancing. You could just get a seat on the side. I mean, because it happens late at night, but it was just such, they're always saying, oh, you got to go, you got to go. So one time I actually did go. I was like, wow, I could see why you got to go. It's a show. It's a performance more than anything. It's definitely something that surprised me. It wasn't exactly what I was expecting, but it was definitely worth it.
I may have to check it out. I'll have to take a nap before, but I'll have to go check it out.
You do that.
But it's really cool as the area has grown on the diversity that we have. I mean, we've always been very heavily focused on nature, which is fabulous. And now we see, and the food in Mexico, always fabulous. UNESCO even touts Mexican food now as one of our assets as a heritage.
Yeah, heritage.
But
deserving
now,
so, if you ask me.
Absolutely. And now with the more of the culture and the arts coming to the coastline, I think it just offers something for everyone, and definitely you cannot get it all done in one trip.
No, you can't. I mean, I think there's so much more I have to do. I've never been to all those underwater caves that I've always wanted to go to. And I get the name it Rio
Secreto.
I've never been. I've never gone, and I have to go. And the next time, I'm like making sure, like that's almost the reason to fly there, because I hear such amazing things about that place. And not all the cenote is great, but I'm like, I really want to try that one. I really want to get in there.
No, Rio Secreto is fabulous, and let us know if you don't have some connections there. I can, Paulina, our concierge, can certainly help you out on that, Craig. But it's
Sure.
to get into these underwater caves such as Rio Secreto or Dos Ojos and things is just an experience you can't have just anywhere. It's very unique to the area. And since that used to be, it is the aqua for our underwater freshwater system and everything, but to be in these caves with the stalagmites and stalactites and everything, it's awe-inspiring.
It is. It's definitely, you go back to the ruins and cenotes, and it's kind of, I guess, the underwater rivers, like this, it's the water system with cenotes too. It's a must. It's a must. I mean, yes, it's a must. I agree. I could just say it's a must. You have to go, but really, after you go, you realize just how special it is too. It has that little bit of a sacred feeling in a way, with the Mayan history in the past, and it's just a cleansing feeling, and it's so clear. I remember the phrase that you used, "Wow, clear as gin." That's the first time I heard it, because I didn't, scuba diving, and I was just like, "Wow, that's interesting." And I remember I credit that to you because I use it now.
Thanks.
I learned it from you.
Oh, thanks. Well, and I'm a gin drinker, so a cave diver and a gin drinker, not at the same time, but no, it's an absolute fabulous experience. I have to say, I went to one cenote. There was someone who took me to this private cenote. It's not open to the public, and there was legend. The Paddler twins, and I'm sure that there's going to be some listeners who are going to be able to quote the history chapter and verse and go, you were not accurate. But anyways, there was always it was the entrance to the underworld, and that the ancient Mayan would paddle into these underground rivers. Well, I was at this one cenote, and if you were to come up out of the water, there were carvings, ancient Mayan carvings, of what looked to be smiley faces on the fronts of these steps. And there was a stela that was against the wall, and this is a little cave. And it kind of I always kind of thought, well, maybe they were just like, hey, you're, welcome to our area or something like that. But it was just so interesting to see these steps that had been carved out by hand with these little smiley faces all over them. I've never seen anything like it anywhere else.
Well, you made it, and be happy. Right? You got there.
There you go. Yeah, you are here. You've arrived. But no, the cenotes offer an insight and a bit of a sacredness, because you're really kind of getting close to some of the basics that have helped the Riviera Maya develop that Mayan culture, which is just the foundation of everything here, and Mexicans. I don't want to do time on everybody's culture. But it's really a treat when you visit here to go to the cenotes and to have that type of experience. Craig, I want to ask you, any place in particular you want to just tell people and say, hey, if you're going, I've been here, you got to do this. We hit Coba. Rio Secreto, we know is on your bucket list. We'll help you with that one. But any other last minute things that you want to share and say, do this?
I would think there's one beach that I went to, and of course there's so many beaches, but it was called Xpuha. Xpuha. And I was just like, I think it was like, someone's like, oh yeah, that's where they filmed the Corona commercials, that perfect beach commercial. True or not, whatever, but it felt like it. Like that was the beach. And it's just kind of a little bit off the path, because you go and you see this little sign off the main road, which I guess is 307. Yep. And it's like a little sign. You like turn here, and you go down this dirt road, and you're like, am I going the right way? And then you get to like this guard booth, and you're like, and they're charging you like 50 pesos for entry or something. Who knows what the price is now? But I think that's what it was then. And then there's like these two little beach clubs, and the beach is just gorgeous, And it was just like those are the little things that I'm so appreciative that you could still get a chance to do when you visit a place like this. It's not all the beaches, or you have to be in a really super nice hotel, or it's just. That was just a special day that, it's kind of like a little road trip to a beach, and it was nice. I really enjoyed it. And I would recommend that as kind of like a beach getaway.
Oh, no, absolutely a great call for sure. And next time you come down, we'll have to take you another little beach you may not know about is Escasel.
I don't know, no.
That's near Xel-Há. So we'll just put that one. We'll have to put that on the list. And next time you come down, we're going to do it. I'm going to kidnap you. It's a joke, everybody. I'm going to kidnap you, Craig, and we're going to go to Escasel.
Good choice there. It definitely got people's attention. That's for sure.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Anyways, I'll get you out, and we'll go do a day at the beach, somewhere where you haven't been, and turn you on to that.
Solomon Bay is a great little spot too. You could stay too. I know we talked about that earlier, but I was a really big fan though of the places that are there. For sure, that was a nice little spot. And
did you get down to Chimico's at the end of the bay?
I think that's where they have the breakfast in the morning. Is that right?
Well, the Chimico's is the one where the Mayan women are cooking in the little hut there on the south end of the bay. If you were to walk to the bay towards Tulum.
Oh no, I don't think I walked all the way down that far for food. No, I think it was something that you mentioned to do, and I didn't get a chance to do it because it was one day left or something like that. Yes. I mean, next time, I guess that's on the list too, right?
Yeah. No, you must have had breakfast at Yashita Hotel.
I think so. I think actually just used the kitchen mostly for breakfast, actually. And then went to Tulum for like a meal and then came back and had dinner on the beach, I did a lot of went shopping, which I thought is always a great way to explore a region. Right?
Absolutely.
You pop into one of the supermarkets and you meet the locals and you run around and you see what food they have. It's just a great way to explore another way instead of always eating out. And I think I did a lot of that when I was in Solomon Bay. I don't even know if I ate at either restaurant. I remember you mentioning the restaurant, which that was very close to the place. It was like right when you come in, right?
Yep.
That restaurant. Yeah.
Yep. No, all great places. Craig, where can people find you? I know we're gonna, and I also want to ask you. I mean, you've got podcasts for Valladolid and Playa del Carmen, and I certainly can I put links on our website for your podcast?
Of course. I mean, why not?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So
I'll definitely send you those. I mean, StayAdventurous.com is my site. I mean, everything's there. There's a little thing that says podcast. You click on that, it'll tell you all. I mean, I'm on episode 20 or so episodes in, but I don't know when this officially will air. But, and so there's 20 episodes. I think 4 or 5 are probably from Mexico. So you can see how I'm leaning in that direction always. It's a global, they're from all over the world, but many are in Mexico. So there's one on the Yucatan that I mentioned here, my adventures there, and then one specifically on Playa del Carmen. As well. So yeah, I'll send you those links for everything. And also on social media, everything is at Stay Adventurous. So it's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook / Stay Adventurous, Vine. I'm even still on, that's at Stay Adventurous too. I really liked Vine. I was sad to see that it meet its demise or however that's going to play out. Cause I like doing a little video and I don't mix that with my Instagram. Instagram is just images and I try to stay square. On Instagram. Right. Yeah, I know they changed that, but I'm still a square guy when it comes to Instagram. But yeah, everything is at Stay Adventurous, StayAdventurous.com. My podcast is Staying Adventurous, though. Important note, that's on iTunes as well as on Stitcher Radio. And of course, you could find everything through my site. Everything's right there.
Well, we'll make sure on today's show notes on Loco Gringo that we'll have links over to all your social media profiles, stayadventurous.com, and your podcasts so people can connect with you. And of course, anybody who's listening, and if you can't find Craig at Stay Adventurous and anywhere in the world, contact me, ask@locogringo.com. I can hook you up with Craig, and he can certainly share his information, whether you're looking at Mexico or you might want to have questions on some other destinations that he's been to too, because he's been almost around the world. And so,
yes, well, there's always places to still go, right? But there's so much beauty in this world. It's just great to have the opportunity to go out and see it. And I mean, and Mexico there's so much there too. I mean, you can spend a lifetime there, as I mentioned.
Well, I hope, Craig, if you get back down, I'm hoping I'm going to see you in Mexico.
When I come back down to the Riviera.
When you come back down, and I'd love to have you back on the show, and you can talk about some of your new discoveries while you're here, and we'll have another great conversation. And I'm sure when you come back down, we'll be able to sit down at the beach and have a beer.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good.
Well, a big muchas gracias to my amigo Craig. He's been a good buddy of mine, and I'm really glad he could share some of his insights not only on the Riviera Maya, but also his passion for Mexico. I invite you to visit our show notes at locogringo.com/podcast. As I mentioned, we're going to have links over to Craig, as well as today's notes and some of the great places that he recommends for you to experience for yourself. Until next week, everybody, hasta la vista. Well, are you inspired now to move down here? Do you want to move down here and have a little place of your own? Well, then you need to talk to our friends at Buy Playa. They have a friendly and knowledgeable international staff. They speak lots of languages, and they are known as being a buyer's agent. Well, what does that mean? That means they are only going to show you and sell you properties they know that have escrituras. An escritura is a title. And it's part of their due diligence to make sure the title is clear, there's no liens, and that the person who's selling the property is actually the owner. Buy Playa works with lawyers that specialize in fideicomisos, which is a Mexican trust. You may have heard of it already before. And they can address things such as capital gains problems immediately and right up front. so that you have no surprises along the way to closing. So contact our friends at Buy Playa at buyplaya.com.
Thanks for listening. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe. For links, show notes, and more information, head on over to locogringo.com or give us a call toll-free at 800-478-0081.
Porque se tragó la luna, estaba enferma la rana, su madre soba que soba, dedos de pluma la panza, pensó ranita que luna era una toronja blanca, y aunque la luna es de leche, la leche estaba cortada. Croa, croa, dedos de pluma, croa, croa, dedos de agua, croa, croa.